This is just AMZN on Thursday, June 14th, 2018. Taking a look at the pre-market, which was rallying up right into yesterday's high of the day, actually above that as we are about to open on the day. The last 2 days, we had a really quick rally up within that 5 minute, sold back down, came right back into almost at the low and bought up again. And very similarly, we got bought up with a very strong candle, sold back down, eventually came back down relatively close to this low, and then rallied again. Not quite as high. This one rallied all the way up here to the high and then continued on. We'll see if today does anything similar. If it does end up opening up here, doesn't gap or anything, look for it to rally up, come back down to some of the low, wherever that would be in this area. Be great for it to contend with any of the highs in here, and that would definitely be a retest of these levels, just like we saw a retest here of the highs, not quite as far, and then this one coming almost as far down. And look for something to come down into the low of the day, whatever that ends up being. And we are continuing to make higher highs, is what it seems. This candle about to open up at a not quite an all-time high, but very close to it, and it would not be surprising if it got to a new all-time high within the first couple minutes, not even a 5 minute move. So we'll step into the day and see what happens. There you go, all-time high. The first 5 minute, we established a bit of a low here at about 1710, and it could have been, you could have been buying, at this level, which was previous resistance, now possible support, and pullback, quick pullback, and then rally from there. That would have had to be an aggressive trade on the 1 minute, or just had to plan to, buy at this level with a stop down, any sort of range, like around some of these candles. That was the last time we were up here, was this stair step and then roll over. So giving it, setting up a trade, to do 1217 by 1209 maybe, low enough that, or maybe 1208 below the pre-market. So you're up a little bit here, and maybe a little more than R already if you did that aggressively. All right, we're pulling back. We pull back into the low, relative low, a little bit lower, actually, a little bit lower. And what's interesting is this level comes back down into yesterday's high at the 5 minute candle, so right into that range. Already a great retest because it's got this massive bearish candle, but then has a really strong lower wick, and your volume is still really strong as well. 20 minutes of selling off, and then you get a bullish engulfing, and then it seems to bounce again. I'm seeing a little bit of a higher low, a little bit of a lower high. Oh, no, a new high. Stepping around. Okay, now we're just consolidating. This is a great stair step all the way up here. We're at an all-time high. We just made another one, and the trend is bullish. So let's look for somewhere to get in if you're not already in. And nice smaller candles, consolidation. This is definitely a pause. The momentum, you got a squeeze forming that looks bullish, which means this should continue bullish. And there you go. It didn't. So if you're looking at this thinking, oh, I'm going to get in on the breakout, remember, we got to buy on the retest. This value actually retested right down into yesterday's highs, just like the opening candle, opened right here, right at yesterday's highs intraday. This candle came down to that same level. This is another great place to be buying. Maybe have a trade set up 1712 by 1709, still set up that way. And that one would not have actually been traded. We'll see if it makes another one. All right, it would have been, oh no, wait, did it come all the way down? 1712, exactly. Maybe, maybe not, depends on the broker. If you're just doing shares, if you're doing options, then there's some other things that you can do. Nice little bounce and rally, and there you go. There's your breakout. Now you're not wanting to buy here. You want to wait for the retest. Nice stair step here. It'd be great to have a little more retest, a little more pullback, and get in on that. All right, there you go. There's some pullback. Here's a nice little lower wick on this candle. I don't know how far we'll come down. If we're within a few dollars of this price, we're going to be on this uptrend. Maybe 1714 here. be a good place to buy. That was this high from yesterday. Stop around, maybe 1709 still. So nice stair step, and just kind of grinds higher. And there you go. There's a little bit of sell off, but still not very far. Just continue to grind higher. So there were multiple places to buy, down here, down here, down here, looking for it to hold the low and continue higher. And it did that at each time that you could have bought, when there's this lower wick to buy from, even this one, even this one, even that one, especially this one, buying way down here somewhere and just letting it ride up higher. So a few places we could have bought on some options. This is the calls. The call options are actually losing in premium. So even though we opened at this price, we came back down and repeated that price. So you could have bought for, maybe, let's see, 14, maybe bought for 15 and a stop at 14, or maybe 15.50, stop at 14.50. Would have been stopped out on that one. It's all right. You already made some gain on that one, more than an R. Then you lost less than an R here, or maybe an R. And then you get it on this one, same setup, and that rallies all the way up here. This is multiple R's, multiple return on the trading. And then if you got in again on each of these ebbs and flows, as it rallied up, get out, wait for it to pull back. Okay, buy in. This is looking like a bit of a triple bottom here, and then just continue out higher. So many chances to risk $100. Need some premium in your account to be able to do this kind of setup. But that's what's going on to move the calls. The puts, maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of this. It just depends on the put. So what was that, 1250? If we're looking at the 1700 put, there's not really much going on bullish or bearish. Even that 1255, that was this. It mostly just went sideways, maybe a little bit higher, but nothing major. So next thing you can do to look at this a little differently is to switch over to a time frame that's closer to being at the money. And okay, here we go, 1255. So you could have bought on that candle, possibly, if you had planned it and all. So the low here is 875. Maybe you got in at 950 or something, and a stop down at 850. That would have worked here, but only would have gained about an R or so, which is okay. It's a little bit of a move, getting in bearish, but you had to get out, and nothing about this chart is looking bearish right here. Just some consolidation, some pullbacks, which, those need to be played by somebody. So, but just like this, these S curves, quick one, slower one, just continuing up on these S curves and offering a lot of great places to buy whenever you see a lower wick on these to get in to these calls that we just were looking at, or to look for another call that's actually going higher nicely, rather than something else that's just going to kind of float around and lose a bunch of premium. So all this just kind of trended up and it worked out. So we will end there today and see what tomorrow looks like tomorrow. This was a great pause. 3 days of pausing, straddling this upper edge, broke out, retested, and it's just been gone. So, had you bought here, let's see, this is Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Had you bought anywhere in this day and just held, you're way up. And there's a lot of times that's how you can just simply play AMZN with good risk mitigation and just be able to have that all set up. Now you could also get in and out each day if it's the right location. And then you could have a smaller position you hold overnight, something like that. But if you're not already, review your own plan and your account to see what you're actually able to do from what you've identified. And having some less expensive options would be a big help. So I'm looking at the 1700 call. If I switched over to the 1725 call, this option moves a little bit differently. This one puts in some lows around 3, 350, 3, 3. You could have just bought at 3 and let it rally up to 450 and done that a few times. Would have taken a little more babysitting, to know what's actually going on in the trade and not really automate this. Or if you know a way to automate it, go for it. And please share, because that sounds great to have that automated. But it came back down to the same price because we're out of the money on the 1725. Looks like we're in the money. Looks like we're about to be in the money based on all this. So that's 1725.50 up here. And if we actually open up here, again, look for a retest with the S-curve, and then for it to rally higher. And it could take a while. It could be much longer than this. Could take some consolidation. Get more of that over here. But, could just kind of be grinding. If we look back at the daily, see these small candles. I mean, we just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. 14 of the last 16 candles have been bullish. 14. And it doesn't have to stop. People will be looking for it to stop and hold at them. And it doesn't have to yet. We still have some more room that we could go on the squeeze. And then one thing I want to highlight is we are nearing. Oh, we did make it. So the not that one. Where's the other one? Not that one. There's two showing up, but the 1724.80, we're right at the edge of that, right at the top end of that green range from that one, that triangle. We're already at the top of that range on that triangle. That's a target. It's a great place to take profits. It's a great place to scale out, if you want to hold on a little bit, great, hold on a little bit, protect the position you've got, and make sure your plan says, whatever it is you're doing, so that you can, really trail up and let this thing continue to move. If we gap up, similar to this candle, this being a little bit stronger body, similar to this, not quite as tall, actually mostly similar to, gosh, we had one like that recently. Read out. Maybe a little bit like this candle. So we, if we're here, we could gap up, go up, and then gap up again, and do this, and sell off a little bit. So if people are doing whatever they need to do before the expiration, is it just the monthly or is it quarterly thing? No, I think it's just monthly. And then try and do some more things with the position. So that's the option to do, and just to protect what you're doing with your position. So hope you enjoyed this video. This is Justin.